Sound check, sound check, sound check.
Hear you good. Hear you good.
And indeed, we are live and exclusive BWTM news. Thank you so much for choosing to join us once again. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is BWTM News and Entertainment. And tonight we have a special guest all the way from Texas or Dallas, Texas. We have the former manager of Houston, Texas. My apologies. Houston, Texas, all the way from Houston, Texas. The former manager of Destiny's Child and Beyonce, of course, Kenny Moore. Kenny, how are we doing?
Doing well, Ingram. How are you?
It's good to have you back in the room again. It's good to have you in the room.
Glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Okay, there's lots to talk about. There's Destiny Child. There's Coachella. There's some stuff you've got to tell us about the documentary. There's Kanye West and what he said that caused a bit of a stir across America. When is that guy learned not to say anything? I mean, not controversial. So there's lots to talk about. So for those people, I've introduced you already. For those people who just want to know one more time who you are and what you're about, let people know.
I'm Brian Kenneth Moore. I'm the former manager of Destiny Child and, of course, Beyonce. I'm the CEO of Doozy Media Group. I'm an author. Wrote The Making of a Child of Destiny, the Andrea Tillman story, which is the background of the creation of Destiny Child. And we've recently done a documentary about Andrea's life and her impact on creating Destiny Child, as well as a few other groups from around Houston. And we're now working on finishing the screenplay and shopping the movie.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the documentary. Tell us a bit about what people can see from the documentary and how that differs from the material that's already out there at the moment.
Well, what we did in the documentary, we wanted to shed light on Andrea's story and the sacrifices and the contributions she made to the creation of Destiny Child and Beyonce, and the dramatic impact she had on them becoming a success. Often, Beyonce's father has been given credit for doing everything and getting Beyonce and the girls to the world, but it was really Andrea Tillman that was the main catalyst. But the way the story would go, she would die of lupus in '97, so the world didn't really get to hear of her great sacrifices and the things she did to bring the world Destiny Child and Beyonce.
So as we know, Beyonce's father, Matthew Knowles, is, he's always in the press, always in the media talking about, if it's not Beyonce or Beyonce's sister, he's talking about Destiny's Child. He's said some things recently in the media about colorism. It's been a big talking point recently in America. Your thoughts?
Well, I think there was some validity to what he said, and then, but as I stated to you last time we talked, I don't think putting that tag on Beyonce and the girls was necessarily fair, because, as you can see, B works her butt off. She deserves everything she's got. So I on other light skinned artists, I would say yes, but for her, no.
So if I repeat what or quote what Matthew Knowles is saying, he believes the reason why Beyonce is as successful as she is today is because she's light-skinned, or she was light-skinned. That's the attribute as to why she's as successful as she is as an artist today. Your thoughts?
Did you see Coachella?
Yes.
That had nothing to do with the color of her skin. That was just pure beastism and B being B. That had nothing to do with the color of her skin.
So let's talk about Coachella for a second. What were your thoughts on the performance?
To me, I think it ranks. I love Prince and the when he was with the Revolution and the tour they did. The concert was awesome. Of course, Michael is right there. Uh, but I think B put herself in the conversation uh, with Michael and with Prince as far as uh, not being an instrument player as Prince is. You don't get that dramatic side of the performance. But as far as an entertainer, the dancer, the singer, and having the hits to back it up, I think she's definitely in that conversation now. If not, to me, she's definitely the greatest female performer of all time, and that's surpassing. And I love me some Tina Turner, but that's putting her past Tina.
So past Tina, past Whitney.
Whitney was a vocalist, not necessarily a performer. I mean, when we're talking about performing, we're talking about the full package. Now, if you're saying vocal, of course, you can't. Whitney is of course better there.
I've always been a fan of Anita Baker. I still am a massive fan of Anita Baker. Where does she rank for you?
Oh, I think Anita is in my top 5 for sure. I think I just love unique voice. So of course Whitney, Gladys, Aretha, uh, Anita, and of course you got to put Patty in there. So, and then I like Diana Ross too, for what she did.
Of course. Many people talk today that they say that the older, looking back, the music's much better then. It was more soulful then than it is today. What are your thoughts about this?
There's no question it was better.
And why do you think that is, in your opinion?
Well, I think for me, I think the fact that the lack of love. I mean, back then, there was a lot of caring. You cared about your relationship. You cared about the people around you. You cared about your neighborhood and community. That's not necessarily the case now. Everybody is about self gratification. If you listen to all the songs, it's about I got my money, I got this, I got that. It's not about I love you, to the end of time. So by far, there's no comparison.
So potentially the sign of the times, then.
Yeah, great song. Well written.
Yes, absolutely. I read something, I saw something on YouTube the other day. It was about contracts, and it was actually the contract with the X Factor. And it was all in this contract, they basically owned you. Once you actually went on the X Factor, like you became part of the auditions, anything else on YouTube that they owned, anything that you've done after X Factor that they owned, you couldn't say anything without their permission. You can't do anything without their permission. Like 6 years, I think it's either 6 to 10 years, you can't do business with anybody else until that time has passed. They can do what they want with your image, and they can misrepresent you, but it doesn't matter. As long as you have signed that contract, they can do that. When I read the stuff in this contract, supposedly this contract, this person was telling me that from A to Z of this contract, it was nothing more than slavery. You didn't own self. You can't speak. You can't talk to anybody about what's going on from the outside. You can't. You have no say on what's creative. And you don't even have yourself. Somebody else becomes your creative force. How much of that do you recognize or are you aware of within the industry?
Well, I'm well aware of the contract and basically selling off your brand and you. In fact, that's why we're launching the Doozy platform that will give artists an opportunity to basically own their brand and get their product out there and have full control. And that's one thing that over the years that I've looked at and seen the industry change so much. I even went as far as to having some meetings with different high tech companies and music industry labels to try to say, hey, anymore. So that's one thing that, and we'll talk further in the coming months. Hopefully you'll have me back because we're looking at doing our beta and launching the actual Doozy platform. And on that platform, we deliberately try and to free the artists up to keep them creative and let them control their brand.
There's so many horror stories that you hear over YouTube, or you hear like murmurings of artists signing to contracts and selling their souls away. Is this hype, or is there some substance to that?
Well, I mean, if you're the creator, God give you a gift to be a creator. And you have to understand that contracts are basically saying that I'll let the world or distribute your music to the world for a piece of your ownership of your creation. So, I mean, it's just basically the way I look at it, you're taking a God given gift, and then now somebody else has found a way to manipulate what God has given you. So, I'm here and there with contracts. Love, the ones that work out great, and I'm bold enough to go independent if I have to. I've done it several times.
There have been cases of people getting involved in these contracts, and everything looks great at the start of the contract in the first year or so, and then they get deeper into the contract, and then things seem to turn, and then they realize this isn't as it may seem, and then they're stuck. How does a person get themselves out of a contract that they've signed themselves into?
Kind of sound like a marriage, huh? Start off good.
A pretty poor one, I think.
Hey, well, hey, when you first start dating, hey, it's a beautiful thing. But then as you go, you got to learn the people, and the person got to learn you. And then once you realize you get further in, you have to either transform to make it work, or you divorce. And that's pretty much where the artists are. You get far enough in, depending on how much money you want to lose. I mean, Andretta used to always tell us, and she was always joke with the girls and with the group Lodge. And she used to be, because Lodge had a #1 record on the radio with The World is a Ghetto, with the Ghetto Boys. And they were walking around mowing people's yards. And people riding by them mowing people's yards, bumping their music. And they're standing there wondering, man, we broke, and people are listening to our song. And Andretta explained to them, say, hey, y'all need to be famous before you can make money. So you need to make up your mind how you want to do it. And so that was one of the big things that she taught all of us. And as well as that's why the girls were not ever got into any really bad contracts, other than in the Electra deal. Wasn't that it was bad, it was just it didn't go anywhere.
One of the contracts you talked about is the Destiny's Child brand, and anytime they reunite, Matthew Knowles gets a percentage. Is this correct?
Yes.
Is this still the case?
The last contract that I saw, that was the case. Because, see, when Girl Time was created, Girl Time was trademarked. When Destiny's Child was created, Destiny's Child was trademarked, which means that no matter who the members are, they can come and go. The brand is still owned by Music World, or at the time it was Tillman Management. So, it don't matter who's in the group. I mean, they can manipulate the money and do things they need to do that they want to do.
So do you think is what's the latest news in terms of a Destiny's Child reunion moving forward?
I was very excited that Beyonce chose to reunite with Kelly and Michelle at Coachella, and now that the rumor is that they're going on the road with her on the Run tour. And the reason why I say, I put Beyonce up there with Michael and Prince. The one thing for me to, and I hope she hears this, to put her over, Michael always had the ability that no matter how his career changed, he could if he went back and got with his brother, it did something to the fans, the impact of that. So being with Michelle and Kelly, yeah, it will give the excitement of Destiny Child being back together. But I think to totally get the nostalgia there on the level of the Jacksons reuniting, she needs to go back and get Latoya and Latavia and just have all five, DC5 on stage for 2 or 3 songs. And I think that you talking about rumors and hype, that would just blow her out of the water even more.
By doing a reunion such as that, would it be considered maybe corny or staged, or would it be more of a reunion to kind of heal old riffs and stuff like that? Where do you think it would be in terms of, getting them all together? And would they all want to be together in one room for one night or for a tour?
I would think it would be getting together to heal a family. I mean, no matter how you look at it, I mean, these girls came from they grew up as sisters, and you don't just throw your family away. And I hope, and I hear it behind the scenes that they do have relationships. I know Nikki and Nina and Tavia and even Tamar, have had some time together, and Kelly and Tamar have been together. So they meet up and talk when they get the opportunity. But I think to just bring it full circle, the reuniting of all five would be just awesome. And to be totally honest, I mean, I would like to see, do a Michael Jackson type thing and go do those old songs that she used to do, when they were girls' time and when there were 6 of them, because they have some nice songs, and it would really, show the journey, take the whole journey that she took.
How much influence do you think in 2018 could you have on making that happen, or would that be a Matthew Knowles thing?
Well, I think collectively it could happen. Me making it happen, I wouldn't want to go there. I mean, would I be a part of it if, that everybody came together? Yes, I would do that. But I think I've done enough as far as trying to bring closure by doing the book, doing the documentary. As that's Andretta's legacy, and some ownership needs to be had by other people other than me. I've done my part. I know what I've contributed. They know what I contribute. And so I think collectively, you have to have those conversations behind the scenes to say, okay, hey, all this forgiven, let's make this happen. And I think, nobody, they're not bad people. Nobody that was a part of us were bad people. Now, money can corrupt. So let me just say that. But I mean, the soul of the people that I knew, it could happen.
How about this? You're talking about closure. The greatest closure would be a tribute to Andretta Tillman by having all those girls back together as an Andretta Tillman tribute night towards just to recognize the greatness of Andretta Tillman. And that's a great way to get to kind of send off Andretta Tillman in a way that the world will say, actually, this was the woman behind Destiny's Child, and all the girls acknowledging that and saying, yeah, she was the person behind Destiny's Child. She was the originator behind Destiny's Child, and that would make great closure. And that would not only great closure, it brings the book in, it brings the documentary together, it kind of brings everything back in home, full circle. How does that sound to you?
That sounds great, but there's only one person that can make that happen, and that's Beyonce. And the reason why I say that, is B has the ability. I mean, she has the stroke. She's the queen. And in order for that to happen, B would have to acknowledge, again, even though she did it on the first album. They did it on the second album. But to kind of put it, for me to put everything to bed, and like her children, Andrea, the children say, all they want is for her just on stage one night to say, hey, thank you, Andrea the children. You know, just that. I mean, that is, is closure. So, I mean, what you said as far as a uh, reunion type show or something like that in her honor, that would be awesome. Or, just do it from the stage. Just acknowledge, who she was and her contribution, even though they have early on, it from my research and from doing the documentary in the book, there's still some hurt there that she has not been given the credit she deserves. Thus, why I wrote the book, why went as far as doing the documentary and writing the screenplay, uh, and even being a part of Randy Torabelli's Becoming Beyonce, and uh, being part of David Brewer's The Vocal Coach book, his Prodigy book about Beyonce. So, yeah, I think that would be great, and it would I think put B in the stratosphere to kill all the rumors, because her whole career has been that Beyonce, everything was set up for her, which was not true. Uh, all these things was that when people got kicked out of the group, it was Beyonce's fault. Not true. And I think if you bring it all together, close it, then it's done. Then now you go to the next level, and nobody's looking back at you saying, "Hey, Beyonce did this," or anybody did anything, because even though she really didn't do anything. So
I know you talk about Beyonce being the queen and this stuff, but is she in control of the decisions she makes, or are certain decisions made for her? So, for example, there may be a decision maker that says, you know what, we don't want you going back there. We want you staying where you are. Is Beyonce powerful enough to say, you know what, I want to go back. I want to go back and spend a night tribute to Andrea Tillman?
that's a decision that I'm not in the inner circle, so I wouldn't know for sure. Michael Jackson had handlers, Prince had handlers, Tina Turner had handlers, so I wouldn't think Beyonce would be an exception. But could she maybe suggest that and want to do it? I'm pretty sure she could.
Um, on the subject of handlers, talk to us from your experience what it means, a handler. What's the role of a handler?
Well, basically, it's the person that starts out being your. I think the best way to put it is kind of like a sports agent. You know how when all these guys from the ghetto go sign these $1 million football, baseball, basketball contracts,
Yeah.
and then there's this one guy that tells them how to spend their money, who they can spend it on, what they can invest in, and things of that nature. Uh, that's what I would refer to as a handler. You know, you still get to do some things and think you control your money and what's going on, but you're really not in control. You know, fine example, you have guys that, so I go play 4 years of football. I'm getting ready to get drafted. Now, because of the possibility of me making money, some total stranger comes in and say, hey, trust me, sign this contract with me. I only get 2 to 3 points, but I get power of attorney over your million and how you're going to handle it. And by the way, I'll go get your financial advisor, somebody I know, and things of that nature. So these guys are already set up and being handled from go. Thus, most of them end up broke. So that's kind of how I would describe it.
Right. I've heard stories in the past of handlers basically taking complete control over an individual to the point where in the end they end up broke and the handler still walks away with lots of money.
Most African American artists end up broke. If you think about most of the artists, Sly Stone with his catalog, or drugged out. George Clinton don't even own his catalog. So they find a way or find a vice that you need or get you on to find when it's time to get it back or take ownership, they do.
So the big thing with Prince, Michael Jackson, these were guys that fought for their, well, particularly Prince, he fought for his rights as an artist to take back his music. This has been something that's been around for years. How do artists avoid not getting themselves in that situation in the first place?
Well, one guy that I think has a good head start is Chance the Rapper. I mean, he's independent, made his million, making millions. That's the only way you kind of dodge that is to be an independent artist and control your brand. And now that's why I'm so excited for artists now, because now is the best time that you could ever be an artist. You know, and as you see, some of them are born overnight. Some of them are YouTube sensations. But I mean, if you're going to do it, now's the best time. Just know you have to control your brand and your ownership of your content.
So how does Doozy go about business without, how can you go about doing business, generating the revenue and distributing the expression of one's music across the world or go global without having to go through the various industry or various gateways which lead to basically the artist selling themselves out, let's say?
Right. Well, so one thing that Doozy is the model of Doozy is we studied the industry, studied the changes that were coming. We were involved in technology, and what we did was we said, okay, how can we create a platform in which the artist can have complete control on if they sell their stuff, they keep 100% of their royalties. Give them ways to interact with their fans, to sign, copyright, different things like that. So we basically took, I guess Doozy mainly came from learning from Andretta, as well as over the years after I'd left, a lot of people would come to me and ask me to manage them. And I would be like, no, in a nice or a bad way. But after a while, it taught me that all these people did need to know the basics of how. So Doozy, the way we do it totally different. It's a learning tool, as well as subliminally, you don't know you're learning how to really handle your business. But we put a lot of things in place to help the artists along the way.
To avoid,
we'll be. Go ahead.
To avoid the pitfalls that are out there.
Now, the pitfalls are going to be there, but dumb is dumb. I mean, and what I mean by that is just because we're putting something in place to kind of help you along and tell you that, oh, hey, before you upload your music, this song needs to be copywritten. Before, if you're selling your music, you need to, be able to communicate back with your fans or have some type of recourse for when people are buying things and things of that nature. But you're still going to have those, once people figure out how Doozy or any other platform is doing it, they're going to go and try to come behind back door on you and say, okay, hey, maybe here's a better way or trick you out of your royalty. Just don't sign away your copyright. Just period. That's just a no to any conversation.
What's the biggest mistake that you see, apart from the copyright thing? What's the biggest mistake you see or in an artist? Like, you might watch him on TV and say, oh, there you go. Good artist, a lot of talent there. And then you say, uh-oh, I can see this is going to happen here. What's the biggest uh-oh for you, the biggest red sign for you, red flag for you, when you see an artist going down the road of getting signed?
Well, as far as a red flag for when they're getting ready to get signed,
Or when
it's,
they're
it's
signed, yeah.
I think when you sign the first thing that comes, that's a red flag. I mean, if you're singing and somebody walks up and, hey, I want to sign you, you need to go research all that, research them. And then I think the big red flag is the longevity of a contract. Back in the day when we signed the girls, we had 6 month contracts because Andretta's whole point was, I'm going to prove you, I'm going to do what I tell you I'm going to do. Then, with that 6 month, we'll go to a year. Then once a year, it would be renewed every year. But it was never contracts that, here I am, I'm going to sign you to a 3-5 year contract off the bat. Because that means I don't have me as the label or the person trying to sign you. I don't have to do anything for 5 years. I can promise you the moon, but I don't have to do anything if I got a 5 year contract. So that's why, that's your red flag. Your red flag, okay, I trust you. I believe everything you just said, but I'll give you 6 months to do what you say you're going to do. And if you do in those 6 months what we agreed to, I'll go to a year. Then after a year, if we're going to have a label, or, you're going to get me signed or whatever, then we'll go from there. But to do a 3 year contract with nobody's, even if they were, once famous, hell, I wouldn't sign with Teddy Riley now. Back in the day, I would have, but, Teddy's not really, I mean, he may be producing and things like that, but, don't have a label and things of that nature like they did. So you just have to be careful.
How effective are reality shows? Because you see people in these reality shows with the singing and the talent, and then you don't hear from them after a while. And not a lot of them really become big hitters. They seem to lose steam. Talk to me about them and why you think this is.
Well, instant gratification. The Spinners used to have a great song, Billy T. Wynn used to sing. It said, easy come, easy go. So if you think you're going to stand on stage for 8-10 weeks, build a fan base, just because you're singing cover songs, and then you're going to go off of that and become famous, now you got to go find a producer, find a hit song. Still the same problem you had before you went on the show. Even though they give them great producers, there's no guarantee it's going to be a hit song.
Interesting. We've got people in the room listening to this conversation, so I'm going to throw out a few questions to you. Let's see what's going here. Let's see. Your thoughts on Beyonce's alter ego, Sasha Fierce?
Sasha Fierce has grown up, is all I can say. She was always doing it. She was always Sasha Fierce. Always. I mean, literally, when they used to rehearse, I'm talking B couldn't be more than 9, 10-year-old. She would dance so hard that the unison of the dance would be thrown off because she'd be bucking. And I'd be like, Andrea, what's wrong with that girl? Because I'm a temptation guy. I want it smooth, everybody in step on time. B would do it. She'd be on step on time, but she always was like getting it. I mean, getting it. So Sasha was always in
it. So the Sasha Fierce thing, the alter ego sort of thing, you don't read too much into that then? Or is that more hype? Because a lot of people think it's more sinister and stuff. You read a lot of stuff on or see stuff on TV, on YouTube, and
So she B always, like when B hit the stage, she's like Michael Jackson. Just nice, she's quiet, Uncle Watermelon Head, can I do this? That's the sweetest child you want to know. She hit that stage, you're like, who in the hell is that? You know, what happened to that child I was just talking to? And even when we used to go to the studio, she'd be sitting there and fidgeting. That's how she became lead singer at the plant. When Tamar Davis, couldn't quite hack it, she was sitting next to me, and I told her, B, what's wrong? He was just fidgeting, and I was like, but I recognized, hey, this kid wants to get in there. So we put her in, and she's been sloshing fierce ever since.
Fair enough. Let's talk a little bit more about you do these interviews with us, Kenny, and with everything you say, there's always some, whether it be good or bad, there's always a consequence for when any public figure opens their mouth. What's happened since you've done these? We've been doing these interviews.
Well, I mean, I've done several interviews, different outlets and things of that nature. I find that I'm quoted a lot, and things whenever they talk about Beyonce or Matthew and things, and I have people that have to call me and say, do you know, by the way, you're in this magazine. By the way, did you see what you said in this article? So what has happened is that after, I guess, people recognize that, hey, this guy's really legit, they must have started going back and reading the book and things of that nature, or watching the documentary. And then when things happen with Beyonce or Matthew or whatever, they go back and reference something that was said there, and they go from there. Even like I was reading an article when David Brewer released his book. I was like, hey, great for you, David. Now you can tell your story. Well, I come back and I'm in the book. He's referencing me in his book. I'm like, but you were there. You can tell your own stories of what happened. But once again, they're referencing me. So I think that the things I've said, and I guess people starting to look at me as being trustworthy as far as what really happened.
So when you're saying one line, you're saying you're going down one road, and Matthew Knowles is saying something going down a different road to what you're saying, but yet you're both around at a similar time. Doesn't the personal logic say, well, somebody here is telling the truth and somebody here is talking porkies? Does it happen like that, or is it, well, he's talking porkies here, he's talking porkies here, and there's a middle ground here? How does somebody find that truth? How do they say, right, I need to find out the truth about what's going on here? I'm hearing what Matthew Knowles saying. I'm hearing what this Kenny Moore's saying. How do I get the real truth to what's going on?
Well, one thing that I always was good at was documenting things as they happen. And if I felt like I would jot it down. So when I wrote the book, it was very easy to do it because I already had notes that were 20 years, from those days, or conversation, or I had contracts or handwritten letters from Andretta to me telling me to watch out for this, mind this, look out for that. He did this. So everything that I mentioned in the book, I never said I always only told stories in which there were multiple people present to validate what I was saying. So everything I said in the book, either Andretta, myself, or somebody else were there validating what I said. And so when Randy Torbelli's book came out and now David's book came out, it's just validating things that I said in Make the Andretta Fielding Story, Make the Child a Destiny. So they just basically go and rewrote what I've already said. And Matthew basically told his story from a elevated level where he wouldn't want you to know the things he did to acquire some of the things he acquired. So there for me, is no middle ground because, like I say, I only know what I know, and uh, what other people want to say. Like I say, tell your story. I mean, there were multiple people around. They all had stories. I've told mine, and I deliberately wrote my book and told and been telling the story from my perspective because I want to give other people the opportunity to tell it, tell what they recall. But what I'm finding is that these so-called people that were there are referencing me and what I wrote. So there had to be a lot more stories than that's there. But so I don't see it as being having middle ground.
So what you're suggesting to me is that there were other stories that you could tell, but that there were other people that weren't there, but just you. But you refuse not to tell those stories because it leaves you with less credibility because you've got no one else to back that up. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, well said. And you got to understand, there were a lot of stories that you know, like Kelly's story, Latavia, her molestations and things of that nature. That wasn't my place to go say, hey, even though I knew what happened, or the rumors about, Matthew doing some ungodly things. Uh, it wasn't for me to tell their story. It wasn't for me to publicize that Latavia was molested. You know, she finally came out and said, like David, it wasn't, I simply said in my book that Kelly's mom went back to Atlanta. She did move back to Atlanta, Doris, and Kelly moved in with Andretta. It wasn't my place to say Kelly and Doris was home. But David felt in his book that, hey, I want to tell everything, that's what I want to say. But, I tried to find a fine line of telling the story, telling Andretta's story without actually hurting other people.
Or hurting or hurting or exposing others in a way and keeping people in their best light possible where you could.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I knew David's book was coming, and cheered him on, but it's not my place. It wasn't my place to get all up in Tina's and Matthew's marriage. I stated what happened, some of the things that multiple people saw, and bore witness to Andretta assisting them when they were separated. And that was pretty much it. But it wasn't for me to go into detail and try to figure out, how their marriage is going. I respected both of them. Like I said, I disliked what Matthew had done and was doing, but I respected both of them and still respect both of them.
So your feelings towards Matthew Knowles, because you're saying that, well, look, the stuff I'm telling you about, I'm telling you, and I've got other people that can verify that. But Matthew Knowles is very much in the limelight because he's Beyonce's father, and he's known as the guy he's the guy behind Destiny's Child. Some would think, and I've read it through some of the YouTube comments in the past, some would suggest that, oh, Kenny Moore, he's bitter. Your response to that? Yeah.
I have no reason to be bitter. Even, and I was asked that question before, and even if I had stayed, even if I've stayed and been the partner at music, Beyonce is still Matthew Knowles' daughter. At the end of the day, that is a fact. How can I be jealous? And my grandmother always told me to never want what another man has.
Exactly.
Because God will bless you in His own time. And I have no bitterness about them. I'm very extremely proud of what we produce. Disappointment, like I said, was only when I found out some of the things that went on with them trying to get Andretta to sign paperwork. that was disappointing, not bitter. It wasn't done to me. They've never, ever done anything to me but treat me nice, kind, and as family. So let's be clear on that. Never have we ever had an argument, fallout, other than one incident at the end when the last time I saw him. But he was the one that stated what he wanted to say. That was it. So there's no bitterness or anything. I mean, we've achieved something great, and I'm living a great life. I'm not complaining. I mean, if you follow me on Facebook or whatever, hell, I'm in the Bahamas every other month, or in Scotland, or
you're having a good time.
well, I live the same way they live, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, absolutely. But people looking in will say, without being informed, will say, well, Matthew Knowles is the guy that started Destiny's Child. And here's this guy here releasing this book and pulling this stuff up now, just trying to jump on the bandwagon. That's another thing people say, jump on the bandwagon. But you smile because you've heard it before. So this is a great time to answer those things as well.
Well, the thing is, when Andretta was my dear friend, like my sister, and when you lose somebody like that and you buy into the dream that she had for the girl, and it takes a minute to heal, to truly heal. And I could be running around here talking about slavery was a choice had I not taken the time to heal. So once I healed and realized that I was not mad anymore or mad or bitter, then I could tell the story without having a anger or angle about it. And the other thing was my wife refused to let me write the book because anytime I tried to add something that was derogatory or extremely that didn't need to be told, she would stop me from writing. So hell, I would never finish the book if I had to start just throwing junk in there, trying to hurt somebody. So I didn't write it from that angle, and I'm not even writing the screenplay, nor the. I mean, it's gonna be juicy, but screenplay definitely. I'll tell some extra secrets in the actual movie. But yeah, it's nothing but love. It's just, hey, I loved Andretta. I wanted the world to know who she was, and that's basically the journey we took. And then, like I say, now it's not about so much me telling the story. Now they know about her. They have an option to go read it. They can watch the documentary, or hopefully we get the movie done. And I'm off to doing the thing with Doozy and running my company and doing other projects.
So when's the last time that you've had contact with the girls or any of the girl members?
Last time, I shouldn't say that because she probably, I'll say it like this. I talked with I see Nikki and Nina, young girls time. I see them periodically. They were in the documentary. Latavia, we were trying to film her, but she had a mishap when we were in Atlanta trying to film her. But the last one I talked to was a very good conversation. She told me what was going on, asked what happened, where did I go, and things of that nature. And we talked, and I encouraged her, hey, it's your time, keep going, and don't give up, And so it was good. And I won't call out who it was.
Obviously, clearly, thinking twice.
But it was. Hey, I'll tell you this. It was one of my girls.
Okay, right. I have an idea who I think it is, but we'll talk about it off air.
But no. Here's the other thing. But I did get a lot of messages from people saying that they represented like Beyonce camp or was a member, and they did I have any thing I wanted to. They were trying to do something special for me. If I had any old footage or something that they could use on the shows and stuff. But I've had those.
Okay, cool. So talk to us about obviously the documentary that you obviously is finished now. Talk to us about the distribution, where that's going to be, how people can see it.
Okay, well, right now we've distributed in the U.S., the U.K., and as of last week, it was released in Germany. So
Germany, wow.
It's on Amazon Direct. Getting decent response and everything about it, and we're just really excited. It takes time. When Rome wasn't built in a day, it's out. Like I say, it's out there. If people want to see it, they want to know a different angle or know the truth of what really happened. It is available for you now. So that was my ultimate.
For those in the UK, how would they get to see it in the UK? Because I see you've mentioned the UK. How do people get to see it in the UK?
Oh, it's on Amazon Direct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazon Direct
in Amazon
the UK?
Yes.
And in the US as well?
Yes. And now in Germany.
Oh, wow.
And we'll be looking at rolling it out in Asia here. I mean, Amazon keeps, pushing it. So, I mean, we're excited about that. And then, we're looking at Netflix and things of that nature coming up here shortly.
Okay. What can people expect to see from this documentary about Destiny's Child or Girls' Time? What can they get to see that they wouldn't see on TV or see through YouTube or hear in the papers or hear Matthew Knowles talk about? What will people see there, and why should they watch the documentary?
Well, you'll get to know Andretta through the people that were around her, grew up with her. You'll get to hear firsthand how life was to be in Girls' Time, because Nikki and Nina Taylor are in there. You'll learn from other artists that were from Houston that she brought along, like Lodge, gospel great Kathy Taylor, Corey Moe, producer out extraordinaire, that has done Outkast. He produced for Bum B, TLC, and Andretta started him. A lot of people didn't know that, so he's in the documentary as well. So
Wow.
as well as the other acts that she started. In fact, I just heard yesterday one of the groups, Taste, they just after 20 years just released a new single yesterday. So, and it's a great song. So I was excited to hear that.
Who's that again? Repeat that.
The group name is Taste, Tayfe.
Okay.
They were one of her acts that were along with the girls, Destiny Child back in the day. But once Destiny Child took off and Andretta died, they kind of fell by the wayside. But after 20 years, they just released their first single. So I was excited to hear that. So it's like everybody's starting to get new life again. So we're excited about that.
Congratulations. It's great to hear that. It's great to hear that news. So I also had to go about the vocal coach releasing Beyonce's vocal coach. Say they released.
David, yeah.
Yes. Tell me a bit more about that.
Well, David didn't pull any punches. I mean, he told what he wanted to tell, and I'll leave it at that. I wouldn't have done it that way, but teach his own.
You said you wouldn't do it that way. Was it from what you have you read the whole book, or?
I read some of it, and like I say, I mean, we all were, Tina, Matthew, and all of us, we all were like a family, and I wouldn't tell my brothers marital infidelities, so why go write it in a book? I mean, I guess he thought it would sell better if he told the tea, as some people say about it. I wouldn't have done it that way.
you know, sensationalism sells, right?
Yeah, but the truth sells too. People just don't believe it.
People don't believe it because it's got no. It's got to be grimy. It's got to be down and out. It's got to be detrimental. It's got to have some doom and gloom to it. It's got to have some evil attached to it. Some you know, something sinister's got to be there that wouldn't happen in everyone else's household, or potentially happen in everyone else's household, for it to be. I say that tongue in cheek. For people to want to be interested, I guess.
Well, see, the great thing, I don't serve that God. So
I understand that. I totally understand that. You're not going there.
What's going to happen is going to happen. Karma and, you know, what you put out will come back. So, like I say, I've done what I wanted to do, and I feel like I've gave a platform for Andretta's story to be heard, and that's what, you know, we set out to do, and to each his own, or what they think of it or believe in it, and go on. You know, if you're going to believe what you want to believe, and if you want, you know, if you don't, it's on you.
Okay, let's move. There's some questions I've never asked you about, and this is a little bit away from Destiny Child. Solange Knowles, talk to me about Solange.
Solange, no. I had just a few meetings with Solange. I really did know her well. I know her daddy really thought she was more talented than he in the younger years. And I think she's coming into her own. You know, she's always been eccentric and things of that nature. But, you know, sweet person. I mean, like I say, can't say anything bad about any of them.
No, but I mean, when you've got Beyonce as your sister, it's you know, you're up against it straight away, isn't it?
Well, I think you can best say she know how Jermaine Jackson
feels. I guess so.
You know how Jermaine and Tito feel. So
exactly. So okay, let's say Solange comes to Kenny Moore and says to Kenny, what can you do for me? What can you do for my career to make me separate from Beyonce? Yes, she's my sister, but I am who I am, and get me out there. What would you suggest for her to be her own brand and still be able to perform and do the things that she does?
Too late. It's too late, and B has too many hits behind it. See, people are gonna remember. People can look back 20 years, and they're gonna be able to say, "Hey, I grew up 20 years of liking Beyonce." You know, now Solange is already nearing the 30 mark, and so she's gonna be adult contemporary here in a minute. So it's too late for her to catch up now.
So what happens to Solange now? She's just steady.
I mean, she can be steady, have a decent career, but I mean, catching beat, that ain't gonna happen.
Well, not
I'm saying, how are we gonna sit there and have this conversation? We just said earlier, Ingram, that B jumped up there with Michael Jackson and Prince.
That's what I'm saying. I'm aware of that. But what I'm saying is, if she comes to you now and says,
other than that Whooping Crane song, that's the only song I know Solange did. Crane in the Sky. I like that.
So what can a man like you and Doozy do for a lady like Solange? What could you offer her?
She'll be independent and get distributed. That's what we could offer. And she'll own her own content.
That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing in this day and age. I think there are a lot of artists probably looking out thinking, I could do with being independent. It's a bit late now.
No, it's not. I didn't say it's not being late. I thought you were saying catch up with B. I was saying catching up to B was not saying that it's too late for her career. I mean, she still could blow up. You know, I'm just saying that, you know, by the time 10 years from now, you know, B will start being here in her Tina Turner waning years, and doing those farewell type tours, and Solange will still be doing what Solange does.
I On the subject of Anita Baker, I've got to go back. I saw her the other day. She has come on the comeback trail, and her voice sounds great, and she looks great.
Right?
Yeah, she's on the comeback trail, Anita Baker.
All she got to do is release an album. But see, that's the other thing that with Doozy that will really bring back is like artists like Anita Baker will be a platform that she can go do an album and release it on Doozy, and people can hear it, get the radio play and things of that. So it's that's our whole goal is to open the market back up to where it's just not the only person on the radio is Adele and Beyonce.
Okay, now hold on to your couch a little tighter. Now I'm going to bring up two names, West and Cosby. Let's talk about West first. Kanye West and slavery and 400 years and TMZ.
Well, my easy answer to that is, as I stated earlier, when grief happens, if you heal properly and take time to grieve, you don't make a damn fool out of yourself like that. And that's what's happening. I'm just looking, thinking from way back, when his mom passed and things, and he was right back up on stage 2 nights later and things of that nature. You have to grieve, and no matter how much cocaine or medicines you can take to alter the feeling, the pain is real. And I had an experience when my grandmother passed, and 2 years went by. I mean, because at the funeral, they were like, well, if you cry, you're going to make all our mothers cry. So because I was like her baby. And I didn't cry, trying to be strong for everybody else. Well, hell, then a year goes by, and I'm like depressed as hell. And then finally, I go back home, and I just fall out back home in Mississippi, and I fall out crying in front of 2 dogs. And I'm crying because I never cried. But that was enough to shake me to wake up and say, hey, there's something wrong here. Grieve. So once I grieve, so in his case, that is what I think he really needs to deal with. And then, the Messiah complex happens to us all. Once the Messiah complex kicks in, there's no going back. I think Al Pacino said the best in the devil's own when he said, vanity. Vanity is the greatest thing. So I think that's what you got going on right there with Kanye. And once again, with Bill, vanity. Vanity will make you believe you can do things you shouldn't do. So with both of them, I just think it's vanity and Messiah complex. I ain't saying Bill guilty or not. I love him. I love everything he's done and meant to the culture, and still a Cosby Show fan. If it was on, I'll still watch it. Some of the best shows of my life spent there.
Yeah, let's say that. Now, two of the stories that have come out about Bill Cosby or defenders of Bill Cosby is the reason why the media and the legal system are going after Bill Cosby in America is because he tried to buy NBC. And then the second story about Bill Cosby is, they're just trying to take down the African American culture and community and history and all the great things a black man does. They're trying to pull that down. Your thoughts to those two trains of thought?
The NBC thing, I have no knowledge of. I've heard that rumor or that story. I do know that was right around the time that his son was killed.
Yes.
He first was trying to buy NBC. So don't know any background on that, but I do recall that As far as as far as tearing down the black man, so I'll use it as this.
I think we've just lost Kenny there. We just lost Kenny. I think he'll be back in a moment. Are you still there, Kenny, or have you disappeared? We may have just lost Kenny for the moment. See if we can get him back. Just waiting to see if Kenny Moore's still with us. Give us a moment. We'll be with you. Looks like we've lost Kenny Moore at the moment, but he was getting a very interesting conversation there, talking about Bill Cosby and Kanye West. But with the news we have got from is that the documentary of Destiny's Child, the Andretta Tillman story, the lady behind Destiny's Child, is now available on Amazon Direct. So that's what Kenny Moore was telling us earlier. So that's some great stuff there. Also, he spoke on Beyonce, talked about Coachella, the possibility of Destiny's Child all coming together and being. Oh, I think we get Kenny's coming back. I think.
I'm trying, Ingram. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you. I was just giving a summary of where we were at.
Yeah, well, I guess the black man was talking too much.
What happened?
I don't know. All of a sudden, everything went black. So
It went or too black. Well, we're still live. So, Kenny, your thoughts, just to close everything up.
On Cosby.
The Cosby. Well, we talked about Cosby.
Okay. We were talking about.
Hello.
I'm here. I was just thinking what we were talking about.
We'll talk about the African American.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I'll use this analogy. I'll answer your question with a question.
You are, by the way, not on camera. Just letting you know that you're just voice.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Okay, go ahead.
So they can't see my facial reaction.
Go ahead.
If you think of rape, first person to come to mind is Mike Tyson.
Yep.
Black man.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of child molestation, first person to come to mind,
Michael Jackson.
Black man. When you think of murder and getting away with it,
OJ.
Black man.
Oh my God. Oh dear.
So now when you're thinking of rape of high profile, you're going to think Cosby. And then you think no matter how much they make, how rich and famous they become, they become drug addicts or die on the elevator on the way down. So I'll let the question speak for itself.
Kobe Bryant, they talk about Kobe Bryant, where he ended up, where they talked about Michael Jordan gambling.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you think of, I mean, when it's time to pigeonhole a stereotype, or I'll use fine example is you look at when you think of intelligence and classy, you had, President Obama. Then, what do they do? Put on display to show, the kind of opposite of equal intellectual. Then you got, what's the hood director we got? What's the cat's name? Ben. What's his name? Ben?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So now you got two totally opposites. So we come in all kind of colors, shades, intellect, and ignorance.
What do you make of people like Kanye West and now Mike Tyson coming out and throwing full support behind Donald Trump?
Well, I'll put it this way. Growing up in Mississippi, when we were first, we were given the rights to vote, I remember the white candidate would ride through the black community on Voters Day, and they would pay people $5 to go to the poll and cast a vote for him so that he would win. That's how I feel about them.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Do you think, because Kanye West said a few things in that concert which were pretty controversial, do you think when you speak out of turn that there is a consequence for that? And do you think he understood the consequence for that afterwards?
I really when I looked at that cat talking, and then when he and the black guy from TMZ got into it, I don't think the guy had a clue. I really don't think he had a clue what he was talking about and what he was saying. Free thinking? I don't, like I said, that's two now. I mean, goddamn, what's his name? The basketball player for the Lakers.
Is it not Kobe? Why don't you talk about it?
That was married to, that was with Chloe?
Not Jordan. No, I know. What's his name? Not
Lamar Odom.
Oh, yeah, Odom, yes. What about him?
Now he got into some free thinking. And now Kanye want to get into some free thinking. It's something in the water.
You think it's of his own doing, or do you think he's under the influence?
Well, he said he was on recovery, so I'll leave it at that.
Oh dear, Kenny. Oh dear. Final subject. Cardi B. Yes. Her situation with supposedly that she sung a song that didn't belong to her, and I think her previous producer or manager is going after her and for $10 million. And what can you, in your experience, what can you tell us about that whole situation?
It happens all the time. Like I say, great intentions are just that, great intentions. And when people go into agreements, it's with great intentions. But money has a funny way of making great intention intent.
Okay. And for you, Cardi B, as an entertainer or as a singer or as a performer or as an artist, where does she stand for you?
Well, be honest now. I I couldn't tell you nothing she sang. I just know my daughter and them like her.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be 100% honest. And then, like I say, what I mean, I think Nikki got out of her lane and stayed out too long.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't sleep. That's why Beyonce won't sit down too long. You know, she's not. She knows that that lane could be taken and be gone. And so that's what happened with Nikki, is that, Cardi B slipped into her lane.
Why do you think Nikki kind of allowed that to happen? Is that her own control, or is that because she?
But I mean, it goes back to, once again, vanity. When you think I got things on lock and nobody can mess with me and things of that nature, then you're gonna open yourself up for some worms.
We can hardly understand what Cardi B is singing, so it's the younger generation, I guess. There.
Yeah, I mean, they get it, but like I say, for me, and I think I'm just starting to get old. My problem is, it's the way a lot of these artists are coming up, and being and what they represent to our young girls. That's the issue I have. Because I mean, everybody's saluting, her skills, but now you got, and I've heard kids talk about it. You have kids running around talking about, oh, well, she was a stripper before this and that. And the girls are thinking, oh, I could go do that, and then it'll parlay into me rapping. So I that's those pieces I don't care for.
Oh dear, it's not good, is it? Quincy Jones, did you see this? The stuff that Quincy Jones was talking about?
What's that?
Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones did an interview the other day, and he opened up a whole can of worms about a whole load of things about the industry.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you've been in the industry, then you've benefited from it and everything. Then there comes a time when you want to spill the beans. It's a lot of things that go behind the scenes that you have to live and put up with and wrap your mind around. And sometimes people, before they exit the master's plan, try to reconcile things.
Better dead than alive. So the basis that an artist is worth more dead than alive. What's your thoughts on that? And does history prove us to be the best response to this question I'm asking?
The artist is better dead than alive if he had hits.
Or she.
If he had hits while he was alive.
Yeah.
If he didn't have hits, now, I mean, it's a lot of artists that wrote music and had songs deader than hell, they ain't making a dime. But if they had hits and were very popular, they're more better dead than alive.
So, okay, for example, now, someone like Mariah Carey, she seems to be falling off. Her worth, is she now worth more being in one position or the other position? I'm not wishing her, that. What I'm saying is that history suggests that those artists that are on their way out or not making as much money, that now that they're better off in another place where people can capitalize on their hits.
Yeah, well, if it was me, to not go jump around the bush, but to answer your question, if it was me, I'd like to be on this side. I wouldn't give a damn who sold, what record sold, or was bought when I'm gone. I want mine over here. I don't care nothing about a #1 hit when I'm gone. But and I'm sure Mariah and Michael Jackson would even tell you that.
Mm,
You know,
absolutely.
but if you look, Michael wasn't selling any songs when he died. Then all of a sudden, all his songs are #1 hits again.
There you go.
Same thing with Prince. So, but at the same time, people like, Willie Jones, when he died, his record sales didn't do nothing. You know who Willie Jones is?
No.
Exactly.
Willie Jones is a bit of a poor example, though, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. He's a poor example, and nobody care. If you had hits, you're gonna be all right on the other side. But the only bad thing about it is, like Prince feared, then they're gonna bring you back in a hologram, so you ain't gonna be the rest.
You will do that tour. We will get the money out of you.
You know what I'm saying?
Even the poor man's dead.
Yeah, as hell.
Oh my God. Finally, there was one other subject I wanted to talk to you about. And it's just crossed my mind and I've just lost it. And it was a really important subject. My Lord. Oh well, I'll have to leave for another time. Kenny, for those people who want to know how to contact you after listening to this interview, how can they contact you or know more about Doozy?
They can reach out to us at Doozy.com, and we'll be opening things up for a private invite beta for the relaunch of the app and the website coming in June. So if you're an artist that wants to get your product out there, sign up for the beta invite. Other than that, the documentary is on Amazon Direct, Making a Child of Destiny, the Andrea Tillman story, and it's on Vimeo, as well as the books are in Barnes & Noble and on Amazon. The Making of a Child of Destiny, the Andrea Tillman story. The white version is the adult version, I would say, and the red cover is the young adult version. Less cursing, should I say. But yeah, we're excited to be where we are, and looking forward to shopping the actual movie, the Destiny Child movie or version of it, coming up soon as well. So we got a lot of things, irons in the fire.
Kenny Moore, as always, thank you so much for spending time and talking to us on BWTM News.
Always great, Ingram. Thank you.
You take care and all the best.
All the best to you, bro.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So there you have it. Once again, another exclusive for BWTM News and Entertainment. Kenny Moore, the former manager of Beyonce and Destiny's Child, giving us his take on the music industry, contracts, Beyonce, Destiny's Child reuniting, Matthew Knowles, Andrea Tillman, Billy Cosby, Kanye West. So once again, we thank Kenny Moore and of course Doozy Entertainment, Doozy Music, that's going to be doing their thing for independent artists. That sounds great. And when that happens, of course, BWTM will be there to let you know more about it. This is me, Ingram Jones. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. As always, we're out. Have a good night. Take care.